Hi, guys. This is Joy Kristen here with David Schultz. I had a meeting with him about a year ago now, and we're just recapping what we've been up to the last year and talking about where we're going in the future and a few other things in between. So I just want to say, welcome, David. It's really nice to see you. Your hair's a little longer than the last time. Well, actually, last time it was longer, but you had it tied back. That's what it was.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I usually do have long hair and I tie it back and wear a hat and all that good stuff. But
Yeah. All right, so what's different for you now, a year later?
oh man, quite a bit. Life has a funny way of showing us that what we really want maybe isn't what we actually want. And it also has a funny way of showing us a lot of things that are like basically just for learning. So I gained a lot of knowledge over the last few years about life and what I wanted and things that were going on. I decided that I was going to, instead of spending most of my time traveling, which is kind of my main MO, that I would stay home and write a book and take up working in one spot for once. So that's been really good.
And where are you at right now?
I'm in Montana still.
Okay, okay. All right. Yeah, because I remember you were traveling around.
Yeah,
That was good. And then you went off media for a while too,
I
right?
did. I actually took, like 8 months off.
Oh, wow. I didn't know it was that long.
Yeah, it was. I just like stopped everything. One of the things that I discovered was that I really needed a chance to go somewhere and be still, if you know what I'm saying. So I took the opportunity to take a contract to drive locally, and that was really good. It gave me the opportunity to kind of stay out of the way, stay out of the commotion of things, and spend the rest of my time being with myself and actually looking back through all of the things that I had been doing or attempting or putting together and the things that in me I really wanted to discover once and for all so that I could really utilize that to push my message out in the way that I wanted it to actually have the effect that it probably should. And that
Yeah.
actually worked out really well. So
So like, before you went off of media, what was the reason? Like the main reason why you chose?
Well, I want to say that the biggest reason was I ran into a dilemma where I knew kind of what I wanted to do, but I didn't know exactly what I was supposed to do at that certain point. And I was, at the time, as you know, I was like going through the tail end of my divorce, and there was a lot of other things that were unsettled. And I wanted a time where I could focus in on the things that I had that were obligations, while at the same time giving me the opportunity to really solve this part of where do I go from here? And what I discovered was I was asking the wrong question. It wasn't where do I go from here? It was where do I start now that I am here? It took 5 months for me to figure that out.
Okay.
So now I'm writing my book.
So this book, is it the same one that we talked about last time? Or is this a
It
different?
is. It
Okay.
is. And everything changed about it.
Oh, yeah, that happens.
Yep. Yep. The whole thing. Like I had written, gosh, I don't know, like 2 chapters or something. And I was reading through it and I decided, you know what, this really it doesn't touch on everything. It really feels like when I'm reading it, it it makes it feel like I'm holding back. And I didn't want that.
Yeah. And you know that because it's you, it's your book, it's your words and your story type thing.
Yep,
So did you scrap the
exactly.
whole thing and start from fresh, or did you just try to tweak
I
it?
I, I pushed the delete button.
Oh, really?
Yep. I left no trace at all. I decided, there's one thing that I don't even, if I'm gonna do something differently, and this is just kind of where I found in life in general, no matter what I do, I'm not gonna hold on to anything at all. I'm just gonna throw it away and start completely fresh because at least that way I don't have anything to wonder about or distract me from where I'm at right now.
Okay.
So that's been a hard hurdle for me my whole life is like I'll start something and then I'm doing something else and next thing you know I'm going back to this trying to figure out how to put this into here
Yeah.
and it just doesn't work. It really doesn't.
Yeah. So does that apply to other things as well? Like possessions and people, things like that? Like,
As far as possessions go, I am a creature of habit when it comes to reducing to what I mostly use. And so if I have something that I haven't used in let's say 6 to 8 months,
yeah,
yeah, I'll get rid of it. I'll give it away, I'll sell it, I'll throw it in the trash if it's useless, whatever.
yeah,
Um, because I really don't I am minimalist by nature, but I just don't like clutter. And one of the things that I've learned about myself is I operate a lot more efficiently when everything has its place. And I
yeah,
can't possibly put everything in. A year ago, I had possessions in 3 different states.
yeah. Lots of people do. They've got homes
Yeah,
all over the world. And yeah, that's true too. It's like, where is your home? Where's your home? Just where
yep,
you are at that moment. Yeah,
yeah. And that's how it's always been for me. So, like, one of the things I learned was with possessions in particular, I know where absolutely everything I have is at all times. If somebody moves something of mine, it could be across the room. And but because they didn't tell me that,
yeah.
I'll go and I'll like walk past what I normally know. I'll catch it even in my peripheral that it's not there and it'll distract me from everything else. So that's why I have so little and it all has its exact place. With people, I've come to a point where I mostly just look at is this person ready to be part of something that I can help them with or that we can work together on? Or can they be there in any capacity that I would need them as a friend or otherwise, right?
Yeah,
And if the answer is no, then there's just no we. There's none of that.
yeah,
I would rather have people in my life where we're either doing something together, working on something together, or we're there for each other. And for the most part, and like I've talked to clients about this too. I've told them pretty simply, if you're not ready, you're not ready. We can find a starting point for you. I can give you things, but there's a point we all have to reach where we're ready for certain things. A lot of people aren't ready to have friends. They're just not. A lot of people aren't ready for relationships. They're just not.
yeah,
And so I kind of live that way now, and I've realized that I'm actually happier with fewer people, and I do socialize. I like to be social, but I'm happier and more productive.
oh yeah, that's a big
Mhm.
productivity is huge for sure. Because you have all these ideas of all these things you want to do, like I just speaking in general, and it's too many things, master of all, master of none type, whatever that saying is. I could
Yep.
completely understand how that goes. Like with myself, I say no a lot more now. Um, and I can't even really speak about everything that I'm working on or what I'm doing. A lot of it is really secretive, due to NDAs and things like that. So it's
Yep.
like, it's hard because I don't have people I can confide in. And the
Mhm.
people that I do, they don't believe me. They don't
Yep.
believe it's real. And that's a tough one too. I have a problem with losing people. I'm just going to admit it. I find it hard, even with like just in a business aspect. I
Mhm.
do find that hard. Because especially on media, you talk to so many people all the time, and then you might lose touch. and then you think of them and then you talk to them again. It's been a really long time, and you pick up right where you left off. But sometimes people will just fall right off
Yep.
and that's it. You never talk to them again. And there was nothing weird that happened or bad, but I find that difficult. Like
Yeah.
I find it hard to handle it a little bit. I don't like losing people. Like,
Right.
you know that I work a couple days at a bank. I think I told you that. I'm pretty sure I
Mhm.
did. I still do, even though I'm juggling everything. It's crazy. It's really busy, but it's the reason I can't let it go is because it's that people to people atmosphere of face to face. And like the same
Right.
people come in all the time, the regulars, and
Mhm.
they'll, a lot of them will come and wait for me. They'll come in on my days that I'm there. They will specifically come in on that day. Like this woman, she's she's quite old, like she's in her late 80s. She has cancer through her whole body. I don't know how much longer she has. And she just went through chemo. And so the last time I saw her, she looked okay, but then she came in the other day and all the hair was gone, her eyelashes, her eyebrows, everything was gone. And she's like, I came in the other day, but I remembered you weren't working that day. So I came back today and I'm so glad you're here. And I'm thinking, am I going to see her again? Like, am I going to see this woman again? Stuff like that. It's hard. It's hard for me because I live in a retirement town.
Right.
So people are passing away every day. It's difficult, but one day I will let that go. I'm gonna have to. Like, there's just no way I can do it all. It's too many things going on.
It is
But
hard.
I get more out of it than they do, which
Right.
is interesting. Yeah, I think that's kind of why. But yeah,
I think
I
that's kind
mean,
of common actually in that kind of line of work, you know.
yeah, yeah. No, well, I don't know because it was back when I started my copywriting journey. So like, I don't know how many years ago was this now? Over four. I have to think about it to get exact, but that was what caused me to start the whole ball rolling on everything was a bad manager and just a really bad work life atmosphere for everybody that had to deal with it. We don't have those people there anymore. It took time to get them out, but
Mhm.
and now everybody there is great. So it's a different scenario. Um,
Right.
but but at the same time, I think a lot of people they stay stuck in their jobs because it's comfortable. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? They don't want to lose the there's an aspect of that too. You've been doing it for so long, steady paycheck for so long. And as an entrepreneur, it's the complete opposite of that. Even if you're doing amazing, um, it's not steady. You're not getting the same amount every month.
Right. Yep.
So yeah,
There's a lot to be said for that. And I know a lot of people who like they stay miserable at a job simply because the uncertainty of either changing jobs or careers or trying that thing that they want to do is just a daunting aspect. And the idea for them that the risk is possibly more or way outweighs the benefit or the possibility
yeah.
is just too much to think about.
Mhm.
And I really try to get people to understand now that if you want to do something, like if you really want to do something, you can find the time. Like you can be a busy parent. I was traveling to like I had to drive through 6 different states twice a month while I was working a job and being a dad,
Yeah.
like all at the same time. And I was able to find the time to build what I'm doing. And the reality is like if we really want something bad enough, we'll find a way.
Yeah.
But I'm writing a lot right now about the importance of the willingness to achieve sacrifice. And what I mean by that is like we got to give up the things that entertain us for the things that build us.
Yeah.
And a lot of people just aren't willing because, like you said, it's comfortable. And
Yeah.
I call it comfortable misery because it's
Yeah.
like I would rather be miserable sitting on my couch and relaxing than I would be like just keeping at it and
Yeah.
leaving all those distractions alone. And it is what
Yeah.
it is, though, and I can't blame people for
Yeah.
not wanting more enough to go get it.
That's why I don't like taking a lot of breaks or holidays for a long period because I am scared. Well, I shouldn't say that. I know that I wouldn't. I know that I never would. But I'm thinking if I let too much time go by without working on my stuff, if I didn't bring my laptop with me, let's say, it's like, oh no, don't, you can't do that. Because if you let it go and then you come back and you have how many emails to deal with, then you're just like,
Mhm.
forget it. I'm not even gonna, right? I don't want that to even be a possibility. So it's hard for me to take a full day off or a full weekend off
Mhm.
completely and disengage. I think it's
Yeah.
important for you to stay off media for certain periods of time. And then with the productivity, what we were talking about, um, I think time blocking is very important. I, I think it's a must. Like if you don't, you could spend your whole day working on one thing, but then you have these other three really important things you never touched on. The
Yep.
tough part about it is that, say you're writing in your book, because before this call, you were writing in your book,
Mhm.
and it's like, okay, if you're in flow and you don't want to stop that, it could be 3 in the morning. You know what I mean? Like it,
Yeah.
that's the part I have difficulty with the time blocking part, right?
Right.
So,
And
but you're right about time. We all have the same hours in the day.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yep. And it is difficult with things like time blocking sometimes, especially if you're doing something like writing or you're doing something that requires response, because this is just what I've learned about, like, personally, when I'm trying to handle things like emails. I hate emails. I have an AI now that does email for me, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I hate it. And it's not that I don't like writing people. It's
Yeah.
that I get all of these emails and I feel obligated to respond to them. Now
Oh,
this is something that I actually write about in my book as well. I There's a lot in here,
I
but
can't wait to read it.
I talk about feeling obligated and how you're not. And I still have this in me where I feel a sense of more or less obligation to respond to people because I don't want people to necessarily think, oh, well, this guy's just, you know, ignoring me. When I have to also understand, though, that the majority of people I email never respond to me.
Yeah.
So I don't think
Yeah.
it's necessarily that people will think they're ignoring me, or that rather that I'm ignoring them, but more or less what I'm doing now is I'm picking and choosing just based on their headlines if I should even open it. And if I do,
Kind of
then
emails are these? Sorry to
well,
interrupt you. What kind of emails are these?
most of them are people asking me in response to some of the things I put out there, like I'm looking to develop an app. I'm
Okay.
looking to, do this kind of thing. And so they'll email me and they'll tell me who they are, stuff like that. So with emails like that, yeah, I'll respond to them. I'll tell them where I'm at, what I'm doing, etc.
Yeah.
Um, but I get a lot of people that are just emailing me about, like, what they do and can I use their services and all this other stuff. And I get it. And
Yeah.
these people, some of them are probably really good at what they do. And I don't want them to, just sit here and feel helpless. But at the same time, I also had to realize that I can only help some people.
Yeah.
I can't devote all of my time to everything.
Mhm.
Some emails I get are fairly important because they have to do with resources I do need. Um, but for the most part, like I've really stopped pushing on email. In fact, I created a whole new email so that all of my other emails can basically just be junk to be ignored. And I breeze through them every day. If I see something important, I'll look at it. And then I just have another email to create accounts for what I'm doing. and that keeps me kind of focused. The one thing that I've been in a habit of over the last, gosh, I don't know, 6, 7 years is getting overwhelmed. And it's because I just take on too much. It's one thing after the other. I'm like, yeah, I can do that. Yeah, I can do that. Yeah, I can do that. And next thing you know, I got 50 things in a day I can't address. So then
Okay.
I looked at time blocking, and the only times I'm blocking out right now is like the times I spend morning and afternoon. I have a driving shift. So I drive a route twice a day. And then I just basically block out when I first get up. My 1 hour in the morning, I don't do anything. I don't look at my phone. I don't check my emails. I don't check my messages. I don't do anything. I push start on the coffee. I start doing my exercises, take a little bit of salt, and I drink my water. And then when I'm done with that hour, I go to work. When I come back from work, what I do is I see if there's any chores that I need to do, and I do them. And in the process, if something comes up where I'm like, hey, that would be great, I'm going to write. And I sit down and I write. And I do keep this with me everywhere, because what I've realized is that I don't have the ability necessarily to force myself to write. So I just keep this with me. And whenever something happens, I'm like, okay. And I
Yeah.
write something, even if it's bullet points to remind me what entered my brain so that later I can go look at it. And if it reminds me, then I'll write. Today I actually wrote 43,000 characters, which
Nice.
is
Yeah.
which is more than I've ever written in an entire month.
Yeah. Yeah. I hear you there. It's I get a lot of it in the bathtub. I have the water boiling hot. I lay in there for hours until it's freezing cold. And then I just use either my laptop or my phone. I lean over, and that's how it's just I don't know, a weird thing. Um, but yeah, I think too, I don't think you can, in a sense, with the time blocking, like you said, you have an hour to do writing, but you might not be feeling anything where you can get anything out. But at the same time, I definitely feel like you can still rack your brain and brainstorm and just get something on like a side paper, like
Yep.
just scraps of whatever. And it doesn't have to be on your book. And then and it doesn't have to be a specific amount of time in a day, because sometimes you won't touch it for weeks. Like I won't touch, I'm writing 3 books right now, but 2 of them are pretty much stalled. Like I'm not gonna lie, like they'll still get written, but they're stalled. The one I'm working on is the business development, and it is as I'm experiencing things, I'm writing about them. So it's very much, yeah, like a life by experience. But at the same time, there's that voice in your head where it's like, I had a podcast here a couple of days ago, and he says to me, "You're going to put the book out this year, right?" And I'm like, yeah. I said, maybe. He's like, "You need to know the date. When's the date?" He's a coach too, right? I'm like, I'll have to get back to you on that. I said, well, part of me is thinking, do I have the backing enough yet to put out a business development book? Like, have I done enough yet for people to be like looking at that and saying, this is going to help me in this with what I'm going through?
Right.
So, right? Like, do you understand?
I
What
do. Yeah.
yeah.
And that's where I was like really stuck, because I thought that I had to have all of this copious life experience in the exact thing that I'm doing in order to be able to do it. And then I thought I had to have all these resources, when the reality is I don't, right? I have to understand what I'm saying. And then I have to know the process that I'm explaining, right? So when I say experience is the best teacher, it's what we're doing, what we're going through, and it's freshest while we're doing it.
Mhm.
And I found most of my inspiration for actually writing my book, building my coaching programs, all of this stuff that I do. And I don't have courses, I don't do any of that stuff. That's just, to me, I'm not going to say that some people don't have success with it. And
Mhm.
maybe someday I will assemble a course for people.
Yeah,
But it's not going to be stereotypical like people think. It's going to be really different. When you read this book, you're going to be like, that's different.
that
Um,
that's good. Yeah.
but what I've noticed is a lot of that stuff, it just doesn't help. Like people buy courses all day long and they do nothing with them.
Yeah.
65% of people never even look at the course after they buy it. It's kind of like owning the gym membership so that you can feel better about yourself, but you're still not exercising, right?
You know, it's
So
there.
what
It's
I
there for
learned,
you. Yeah, exactly.
yeah, exactly. I have it, but I don't work out. Um,
Yeah.
so and I just started calisthenics too, and that's like kicking the crap out of me. So I learned this when you decide that you want to put something together for people, and you can do it as you go, like you're doing right now. This business development book that you're writing, um, I would say just keep writing it,
Mhm.
right? Even if you don't have a plan for exactly how you're going to execute when you say the end, here it is, package deal, right?
Yeah.
I set dates for things as an incentive for myself, but I don't set deadlines. I've stopped that because deadlines were the critical point for me to abuse myself about things that I didn't meet, called
Mm.
expectations. So what I started doing to myself a few years ago was I was setting deadlines for things like I was told by my coaches. By the way, I've spent over $105,000 in coaching programs.
Wow.
Hmm?
Okay, so with all that money, have you taken all of the curriculum?
Yeah.
So that's all in you.
Hmm.
So are you taking bits from here and there and just kind of merging it to your own? So it just
Not
helped
really.
you in, so
It,
okay, so you thought a lot of it was maybe a bit of a waste?
most of it didn't help me.
Wow.
Like most of it came with this promise that if you buy this course, you'll have access to this and
Wow.
we'll get you where you're going. Some of it was if you buy my coaching, I will personally tailor this program with you. We'll get you to exactly what you want to do. We'll build your course. We'll do this, do that, whatever. A big chunk of it went to Robert Kiyosaki because I wanted to do real estate back then when I first started. So I spent about 40 grand in that stuff, which isn't hard to do. You can go to one seminar and spend that. Just throwing that out there.
The upsell.
Um,
Yeah.
and on Yeah. And like with real estate, it was a free program. It was actually a Facebook group that made me money. It was a now friend of mine in Dallas, Texas, that had a Facebook group that I found, and it taught me how to wholesale for my cell phone. That's what made me money in real estate before the pandemic. It wasn't any of this other garbage that
Yeah.
I was spending money on because I had these stars in my eyes about dollars that I wanted in my pocket.
Yeah.
What I realized after spending all of this money was most of this stuff is directed at making you money. I don't want to make you money. I want to make you, right? Because you're going to go out there and do what's going to make you money. What I realized is that value is what brings money. Money is just a result of the impact you make in the world. That's it. That's all it
Yeah.
is. There's nothing else.
It's just paper. That's it.
Hmm.
You
Yep.
can make more of it. Yeah. It's always there.
Yep. So it was an entrepreneur in Dubai that I met on Clubhouse actually who told me that a, a true entrepreneur is simply somebody who finds a problem and instead of presenting the problem, presents the solution A to B. He said, so if you can find somebody who needs something and somebody who has something and you can connect the two for a
Yeah.
price, you're an entrepreneur and you're going to do very well. He's like, stick with that model. And I was like, okay. That got me thinking a lot. And I do have experience now in what he's talking about. So, like, you can find somebody who needs a product and then you can find a supplier. That's one way to do it.
Exactly. Yeah.
But there's so many ways out there that people are selling that are just bananas.
Yeah. I hear you. I've taken some too. I have not spent 105,000, but I've spent maybe 10K,
Hmm.
maybe more actually. Um, yeah, probably more. Actually, I haven't really sat down to think, but and a lot of it I haven't, like you said about all these courses sitting there, I haven't done them all. I've got a lot of free courses too. People pay the big money and then they'll send it to me for free. I know you're not supposed to do that, but people do that. They send you their horse.
Yeah.
It's like, thank you. But then
Hmm.
you're not the one who chooses that. So then you just put it to the side, right? And
Right.
so much like procrastination and the productivity factor. It's sitting there and you think, if I do that course, then that means I have to come through on whatever it teaches. And maybe I'm not ready yet, or maybe it's not my living my truth type of thing.
Right.
It's like I've always been the type of person who I like to go my own way. I don't like, I love books. I love reading what other people have done to get their success. But when I read those books, I don't think I can do the exact same footprint.
Yeah.
I like, I just, I don't know what it is. But I definitely respect how they got there, but I don't think it's the only way. A lot of these programs, that's how they teach it. It's the
Yep.
only way. You
Yeah.
have to do this. This is what the gurus did.
Yep.
I don't like that. And yeah, I know what you're saying about back to the email thing. I got so many emails that I subscribe to on coaches and different things, and I don't read them. I get them and then I put them in a copywriter folder or whatever folder, investor folder, agency folder, whatever it pertains to. And they don't get read. Like they just left on a new email. And so they're there. I keep them there. But when I see them come into the box and then I see the subject line, because the subject line is everything, I can tell
Hmm.
right away. Yeah, like if it's something I'll keep in my inbox, I'll keep it there because then I know I'm going to read it in a few days or whatever. There's not very many that stay in the inbox. So that
Right.
tells me there's not a lot of good content out there, in my opinion. I've always been frustrated with copywriting because I feel like I wish that it was smarter than it is, because it really is simplified and it's
Hmm.
dumbified in a sense to people to pertain to the masses. Like for what? And I understand that it's a structure, it's what works for
Yep.
people, but it doesn't work for me. And
Right.
I wish that if more people would open up to like more of a deeper like sense of writing when it comes to copywriting though,
Yep.
for selling a product or service. I know we're not there yet. And a lot of different writers, copywriters, different, you know, whatever it is, marketers, they market themselves very differently, like with the way that they portray their brand, which those
Hmm.
are the ones that stand out because they're not doing everything what everyone else is doing.
Hmm.
And they're the ones that go far because they're remembered.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. You don't want to be part of the crowd. And that's one of the things that I really took a hard look at, was because there is no one formula fits all. Like, we're
yeah.
so uniquely different, each individual person. There's just no possible way. That's what bothers me about things like people who say you have to be a network slash affiliate marketer and have all these multiple streams of income. Do what I'm doing and you'll be financially free. It's like, okay, but this person is different than you. You know, you can't say that this shoe fits them if it's a size 10 and they're a size 11. It's just not going to work, right? It's bloody uncomfortable for them. So you
Yeah.
can't do that. So pardon me, I started like really taking a look at this and why I was not, like, because I've done life insurance, I've done affiliate marketing, I've done network marketing, I've done sales. The sales psychology was fascinating when I actually decided to learn about this stuff, because you're right, it works. And simple
Yeah.
copy, paste, repeat works.
Yeah.
It's sad because it's actually preying on the condition of people.
Hmm.
Yeah, because they're like, we're consumerism in a nutshell. That's our personality as a people. Like, the world is in this place where we think we have to have these things that we don't need. And so we're like, as a whole, buying all of these things to comfort, to feel better, to have the next thing. And now
Yeah.
we have terms for it like trending, right? You want the next trending thing. That's how you're cool these days. Back in my day, you were cool if you smoked Marlboro Reds and you could take 3 punches in the face and not blink. It's not the same anymore.
Yeah.
But people are also really weak and offended. And it's like, it's really hard. But if you look at the psychology of selling, what you find is that you can make somebody buy something very easily if you just understand that most people anymore will buy based on what they feel. That's it. If it'll make them feel good, they'll buy it.
Yeah,
So all you got to
absolutely.
do is convince them that that's what it'll do, and it's not hard to do.
Yeah, they're gonna get the desired outcome that they can't live without, that they absolutely need, their priority. This is what it's gonna take to get there.
Yep.
Yeah, I always tell people that, like
And
I
half of it's
coached for a while.
subconscious now.
Yes, it is very much.